everybody, and welcome. As we like to do every week, we like to take a look at the past week's market activity and then kind of bounce on the market and look for something to trade. Well, here's the S&P 500 over the last few months. You can see for a couple months right there, I think kind of while we're waiting for this debt ceiling thing to get resolved, it kind of just stayed in this range. And in the last week, it started to tick up, and now that this debt ceiling thing seems to be kind of out of the way, it looks like it's on the rise. That's the S&P 500. NASDAQ looks fairly similar. Obviously, AI has been leading the charge in the NASDAQ, which is the technology stocks, so that thing's been kind of cruising upwards. And the IWM, which is the Russell, which is small cap and also banks, that's kind of been in this sideways mode for a while because of the whole banking crisis, most likely. But even that's started to take a tick up now. It seems like things are starting to settle down. So, what are we going to trade this week? Well, if you followed Nvidia at all, you heard at all about it, you saw it had a massive move on earnings. So if I go over here with my tools here, what I can do is I can touch here and go from basically the day before earnings to the day after earnings when it hit its high. And you can see right there it says 5 days, 4 bars plus 40. So in 5 days, the stock went up 41%, went up 123, let's just say it's $125, from 300 to 425, a 40% jump, which is massive because if we look over here at what that means, this is the amount of shares Nvidia has. Let's just say it's 2.5 billion shares. So for every dollar the stock goes up, Nvidia value goes up $2.5 billion. It went up $125. So it added almost $300 billion in value in just a couple of days, which is the most apparently that's ever happened. It went up 40%. And this is a stock that's, not the size of Apple, but it's that kind of stock as far as size of company. So imagine Apple jumping 40% in 3 days. Insane. So what are we going to trade? Well, I'm obviously going to trade Nvidia. Number one is because as a contrarian, I think like it can't continue on this blast to the moon thing forever. Volatility now is fairly low. You can see it's right here. So it's bounced around over here, but basically now we're in a kind of the lower half of its range. So volatility is low. This thing is at an extreme high. I'm going to make a bet that over the next 45 days or so, this thing comes back to Earth. Now, it might continue to shoot to the moon. We have to make an assumption when we trade. So my assumption as a contrarian is it's going to start to trend downwards over the next 45 days. So how do I do that? Well, I go to the trade page. I want to go as close to 45 days as possible. Tomorrow this will be 46. So if I open that up, the stock price is $393. So I'm going to buy a put vertical. Low volatility. I want it to go down. I'm going to buy a put vertical. And the way I do that is I start by going to the strike price just above the stock price. And I look to sell one just below the stock price. So if I go here to $395 and I buy a put vertical, you can see it pops up at $253, which is perfect because for a $5 wide vertical, I'm looking to pay around 50 cents per dollar width. $5 wide times 50 cents means 250 is exactly where I want to be. So come tomorrow, if nothing changes and the stock opens up here at 393, we're going to look to sell the 395, 390 put spread, pay roughly in the neighborhood of 250. When we buy verticals, there's a much bigger range, so we're willing to go like 25 to 30 cents either way, not a big deal. But this is perfect. At 50 cents per dollar width, that's perfect. If the stock moves, we'll move our strike prices. Again, we always like to buy one above, sell one below. That's how we set it up. But this is our trade in Nvidia for tomorrow.